And the fifth thing is the theme. I never discuss the word P-L-O-T, so don't talk to me about that because I don't like the word and I don't use it and I never write with P-L-O-T in my work. I do, however, work from theme all the time. I work thematically. It's very important to my work. I can't work without working thematically because the story has to be about something. What is your story about? Where is it headed? What is its destination? And when I say what is the story's destination, I don't mean what is the end of the story, because the end of the story is going to become inevitable. Because as you work on a story will begin to grow out of itself, or as you work on a novel or a poem or a play or whatever, it will begin to grow in a way I call organically. I work organically always, and let the material emerge out of itself. And eventually there comes a point at which the ending will become inevitable. So you really don't have to plan the ending at all. You never have to plan the ending. Sometimes I know the ending when I'm starting, or I think I do, but for sure I don't impose that knowledge or that thought that I might know what the ending is. I don't impose that over a story, because if you impose it, you're blocking off maybe a better alternate ending. What you're doing, if you come to your work, your story, with something, a preordained plan, and if you blocked it all out and made a plan or made a whatever, I always think of, for some reason, of frames, house frames or bed frames or something, something fixed and rigid. If you bring that before you even start your work and you think you know what it's going to be about, well, where, for heaven's sakes, are going to be the surprises? How is your work going to surprise you? I never have a clue what I'm doing with a story, with a book, with anything when I start it. I just start from those kernels that I talked about at the beginning. It starts with an idea, a feeling, a detail, whatever. And then I just, as W.O. Mitchell used to say to me, I used to say, well, how can you possibly know where to start when you get up in the morning? What do you do? I was thinking of the novel, Greater Canvas. It's a much larger canvas. And I said, how can you know what page do you pick up and start to work on? And he looked at me and he just said, without missing a beat, you go where it grabs you the most. And that is probably the best advice I've ever been given. One of the probably two better pieces of advice I've ever been given as a writer. You go where it grabs you the most. And when you're working on a story, and there's a particular part of it that just seems to be coming out like corrugated iron, and that has no appeal that particular day while you're working on it, well, jump to another part of the story. Work on another section of it. Piece it together later. You can get rid of your scenes later. That's nothing to do with the creation. The seamlessness part, the carpentry part, those are all end stages of writing a story or a novel or whatever. First part is the creation part. That's the fun part. I shouldn't say it's the fun part because sometimes it's a real struggle. But that's the time when you can throw your ideas around non-judgmentally all over the place. You can put everything in you want to put in, and so on. You may have to take half of it out later in the carpentry stages at the end when you're really editing, and you have to be a ruthless editor to get to the end of your own work. But at the beginning, you can afford to be non-judgmental, and so you should be. Often the story starts on the third page. If it's a really short story, say it's a 7 or 8 page story, sometimes the story starts 3/4 of the way down. And it's really the writer pawing his or her way into the work. It's like standing there, with the foot going, trying to get into it. And so you write and write this stuff down, but you're not really hitting the stride of what the story is until you're maybe on the second page. Now you don't know that at the beginning when you're starting to create it. So, and don't try to figure it out, because you don't need to know that at the beginning. You only need to know that stuff at the end. The end is, of course, really crucial. It might take you a long time to write a story. It might take several weeks, it might take several months, it might take half a year. But when you come to the end of the story, you better know what you're doing. At the beginning, you don't have to know what you're doing. Just get it all down. Get down your ideas, get down your feelings, get your characters into your work, get your voice right. If your voice is right, you've got probably a good third of the problems of a story song.